Join us every Wednesday night for Shields Ministry at 5:30 Pacific. We look forward to hearing from you. Come on in where you can hear about good, authentic conversations, relationships, and love. We hope to see you there. Check us out. Yes, sir. Welcome, 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 welcome. Come on in. Come on in. This is the Shield Call. We set it up each and every week that we can talk about good, live, good conversations. So, what I want y'all to do is kick back, relax, listen, right? Join on in. If you got something to say, call on in. I'll send you the link. I want to hear your comments and everything, right? Hope y'all had a good holiday, vacation. Y'all was able to relax. We gave y'all the week off, but we coming with the smoke this time, right? We talking about like current events, all the new stuff that's happening in the world, and we hitting on some real sensitive topics as well. So let me just throw out this disclaimer real quick. Everything that's said here, we mean in love. So listen, I don't want you to get offended, right? These are the opinions of us, right? And we trying to help people get better. And believe it or not, it's people that really, really reach out to us. They write into us to be able to ask many different questions. So we are here to ask and answer the questions. And we also here to talk about various conversations, numerous conversations, a plethora of conversations, right? And so this is how we're gonna kick it off, right? We're gonna kick it off like this. First, we're gonna kick it off with your boy Columbus Short. I'm sorry. Let me introduce. My name is Los. I'm your co-host or your host for the day, right? To monetize the whole conversation. The dude you see over here driving in the road acting like he paying attention, that's young Lim right there. And then you got young Romy over here, Jerome, right? And so we here. Whatever you got to say, we want all the smoke, right? So this pretty controversial. We're gonna have different people on. We waiting for my man Bishop. You know, he gonna give you some heat. You know, we got regulars too that come in to give you some heat as well. But let's just dive right into this, right? I'm gonna try to read what Columbus Short said that everybody was like really, really upset about, right? He was saying something about black women not trainable, right? He said something about black women not being trainable because they don't have their parents or father, they're not raised by their father. And so just kick it off, Lim. Like what do you think about the words of what Columbus Short said? And I'll try to look for exactly what he said.
Well, so I'm gonna bring it to this. So with Columbus Short, obviously, we as Black folks, I'm gonna tell you why this is a big outrage too. We as Black folks really care about what our celebrities think, even though they're not experts or they don't have PhDs in relationships. They're not life coaches. We hang on every word that they say. So with that being said, I will say this: the independent woman is not just a Black issue, Black woman issue. I've been talking, I'm just going to put it out on me. I've been talking to a lot of women from other races who have also echoed the fact that a man in their life is no longer the biggest priority of their life. Their careers, their education, their ability to provide for themselves means way more to them than a man. And here's why that's important. There was a huge shift, everybody knows about it, from the 60s and 70s when men no longer were the number one breadwinners in America or in the world for that matter. And so now women are saying, I don't have to stay like Big Mama did. If I don't like how you acting, you ain't got to be hitting on me. You ain't got to even be abusive or cheating on me. But if I'm not happy, I can walk out. So this is where women are today. So when you talk about women being trainable, basically what you're saying is they're not submissive and they're not the same women from the era of the what they call Camelot area of the 60s. Women are not staying at home, so they figure like, well, I should have a say so. Matter of fact, say so. I want to you now. I want you to be the accessory to my life. You are not my life anymore. So I've had women say that to me, that a relationship and a man is okay, but it's not everything anymore. So I'm gonna let you guys get in on that. Get some of that.
What you say, Laurent? Because I got an actual a real life situation I want to express based on you bringing up my big mama. You know, every time you bring up my big mama, I'm ready. But go ahead, Ron.
No, I do think that in 2024 we have more um, of the American black women that's very independent. um, and they doing really well in today's times when it comes to the money they're making, the entrepreneurship that's going on. So kudos to them. They're the most educated across the board when you look at that. When it comes to ethnicities, so they well educated, and let's be honest, it's like a job. When you come in there, why would you hire the person who barely qualifies when you got the person here with everything on their resume is showing a success? So at the end of the day, if you don't line up with their success, they not even gonna entertain it at this point, on an overall stand. It's gonna be some that's gonna do it, but we're talking overall. And rightfully so. I feel like if you're gonna be a teammate, you want to get the right teammate. You don't want to go out there and get somebody that's gonna be the op, as the young folks say. You don't need an op. You don't need an op on your team. If you got an op on your team, guess what usually happens? You wake up in the morning, so and so's been traded to the blah blah blah. And so in our world, that so and so is either the divorce is you know been served, or they say, hey, what I'm saying, the wedding is off. They calling off the wedding. They not even gonna entertain the foolery at this point. So everybody has a short fuse of patience. That's my
So, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So I'm gonna give you a real life example. I had a conversation with one of my homegirls yesterday, right? And so she was telling me this whole scenario of how she really, really liked this guy. But she was like, Los, I really think Buddy getting kind of comfortable though. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? She was like, well, after work he'll come and he just expect me to, make him a meal and that's cool because I don't have no problem with making him a meal. But like my thing is, how did it get to the point that you comfortable with just coming over my house and kicking up your feet expecting a meal? But in the beginning we was like going on real dates, you were courting me. So now how did I get here where it's real comfortable with him just kicking up his feet and expecting me to have a meal? That's something I was gonna do anyway. And then furthermore, like even his overnight stuff, his toothbrush and his towel and all of that. This is something I normally like would do, but the fact that he's expecting this, am I creating this to be too comfortable for him, or should it be real life boundaries? And then so I was like, I paused for a minute, right? And I hit her with this. I said, let me just ask you this major question. See, Los always shake the boat. I said, let me ask you this major question. If he had another girl doing that, would you get mad? Like if he could go to another girl house and get that meal, right? And get the overnight bag and she wasn't complaining, would you get mad? She said, of course I get mad. I said, hold on, pause right there then. Let me give you one even further. If he ain't even involved with his ex girl no more, what if she offered to do all of that with no strings attached? Would you get mad then? Of course I. So why are you complaining? If you say everything is what you want it to be, right? Right? If everything is what you want it to be in a man, are you just trying to look for something to self sabotage? Because you say everything going great, but should you create boundaries because you're so used to dealing with guys that don't have it together? So when you actually get a guy that have it together, I think it's in your best interest to be able to treat him accordingly, right? So she was like, she hit it with one of Rome. She said, yeah, okay. She was like, I understand. So we were going through many different scenarios based on this situation. Now, granted, when we talk about Columbus Short and the black woman being trainable, I think the Honorable Dr. Umar Johnson says something phenomenal. And could you play that clip for me real quick? Hold on,
I
let
want
me
to
give
ask you
you
something
a
Columbus Short said since we talking about that. He
Sure.
said he got some heat for saying that black men are dating outside their race because most black women are raised by single mothers and absentee fathers and taught a don't need a man mentality. What are your thoughts on
Well,
that?
here's what I would say to my brother Columbus Short, and I'm a fan of his. Are we not all victims of the systemic oppression and injustice that racism has introduced into our community. So just as you have black women who didn't grow up with their father, you have black men who didn't grow up with their fathers or their mothers. In other words, why is it acceptable for the black man raised by a black woman without his dad to reject a black woman raised by her mother without her dad? I think sometimes black men can be guilty of a double standard where we want a perfect offering when we ourselves are not a perfect offering. And to that point, I think black men need to recognize the fact that one of the reasons we have so much conflict with black women is because we don't operate on a masculine platform with our women all the time. We tend to operate on a female platform. For example, when a woman gets angry, rather than you trying to understand your queen non-emotionally. See, you can't have both people in a relationship with a low emotional IQ. Because if both people in a home, if you and your wife both have a low emotional IQ, if you and your wife both have a low emotional IQ, y'all gonna argue over everything because nobody says, I am not gonna emote over this. I'm not gonna deal with this with feelings. I'm gonna use reason and intelligence. That's what the man is supposed to do. Yeah. But guess what we do? Raised by single mothers, many of us, we reflect right back to them that emotional trauma that they throwing on us. So in essence, you have two females arguing, although one is in a man's body. Black men have to start being mad.
See, that's why I call my man the Honorable Dr. Umar Johnson. Because at the end of the day, what he really saying is what my cousin said a few weeks ago, Heike jump men think they the prize. And when you end up arguing with a female and now you getting your nails painted like a female and now you trying to wear handbags like a female, what is it left for a female to do then? What you gonna do next, be Bruce? Sorry, I know I'm on live. I wasn't supposed to say that, Bruce. Sorry, I apologize. So I'm just saying, but what's next when you talk about emotions for emotions? So at the end of the day, men are a little bit more logical, is what I think, especially when it comes down to things like this. So is black women trainable? To me, I believe you fully get a grown woman when you have a woman, right? And so a woman should be able to handle the nurturing part. I think opposites attract. So when you come in hard exterior, the disciplinarian, cutting the grass, whatever your gender role is in your marriage, everything changes. So I'm not here to tell you what you should and should not do in your marriage or your relationship, because that's for you all to establish. However, whatever that is, opposites attract. That's what I do know. You both can't come in dominant because it won't work. You both can't come in emotional and soft because it won't work. It got to be able to, you got to be able to balance out what you bring to the table. That's my thought. What you say, expert Lim? And where Bishop at before I read this next statement? Where Bishop?
Right,
Go ahead.
So here's the deal. So I didn't hear him say the word trainable, but I will say this. If a black woman feels like she out earns a black man or he's not her equal or above, she's going to treat him accordingly. And the difference with that is accordingly meaning she's not going to respect him. And I'm going to just go out and just say it. A man should not be with a woman that does not respect him for whatever her reasons are. Now, if you go into what the doctor, I believe there is some merit to what Dr. Umar said, is no man, black or white or green, should be trying to argue and out argue a woman. You're not going to be able to do it, nor should you attempt to do such things, because what ends up happening is she has no problems with having circular arguments and conversations, meaning arguing about something that's not going anywhere. She's very comfortable in that space because it allows her to express all of the emotions she's had about a situation, past, present, and future. So you don't want to get into that as a man. What men are doing, and this is to what Bishop would probably end up saying, is they just say, I don't have to argue. I just go get another woman who won't argue with me. And we end that right now. What Dr. Umar didn't talk about was some of the origins. I think he may have, but some of the origins of why there is a hatred towards between black men and women. Part of it is that black men didn't protect them during slavery. Part of it is black men have left them with children and didn't raise them. So then what ends up
So
happening
hold
is
on. Let's pause there. Then please, can we park in the meter right there?
okay.
Is that our fault?
Is that whose fault?
Is that black men's fault that we could not protect them during slavery? Let's stop there. I want to see your take
I'll
on
answer
this.
that question.
Yeah,
I'll
I'm
answer that
listening.
question.
I'm listening.
Okay. So it doesn't matter. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because women are emotional. They're not thinking logically about what happened during slavery. They're just saying when I was at my vulnerable, or where Big Mama, great great grandmother was at her vulnerable, you wasn't there. It don't matter why. See, women don't care about context. They just care. Did you get it done? Matter of fact, the best quote is the John Q movie. Remember when John Q's child was needed that money for that operation? She didn't give a, excuse my language, she didn't give a you know what how he got the money. I don't care what you got to do. Find, get it, and get it done. A lot of our women are at that point with black men. They don't want us to go out and hustle necessarily, but at the same time, there's no excuse for you not having your shit together. So however you got to figure that out, that's on you. That's how they feel. And I'm not saying it's
Oh,
right or wrong, but
okay.
there's not a lot of there. I'm gonna land it here. There's not a lot of let's give context and nuance to what we're talking about. I just need you to become what you need to become. Go ahead.
So while you on the roll, I love it here, Lim. Let's stay right here, right? So I was talking to the same homegirl. She went on to say, she went on to say that Los, I don't even know how I feel. Furthermore, because he was talking about how he got all these businesses going on, and and he's sharing with me his vulnerabilities and how he may not have money for this and that. I kind of feel unstable, based on what I thought it was. And by him opening up like this, now it's questioning, do I really feel secure in this relationship? And I was like, wait a minute, real quick, just hold on. Because let me just tell you this: whenever you see a man being vulnerable with you, right, whatever it is, whether he tell you he's scared, whether he tell you he nervous, whether he tell you he broke, whether he tell you he was molested when he was little, whether he was telling you whatever he tell you, whenever you see a man getting vulnerable with you, that means he trusts you. And guess what? This is the chess move, because this is something that can turn you completely left if you say or don't handle this appropriately. So if he vulnerable with you, talking about some he broke and he might not get paid the next week, and you say, man, I don't want no broke nigga, like I ain't come for all this. And if you say that, he will never trust you in that space again. Now you just gave him permission to talk to everybody else as it relates to his financial money, his issue. He would never trust you in that space again. And I gave her free game, right? Free game. I was just letting her know, when a man come to you with vulnerability, hey, baby, I want you to meet my homegirl. Is it possible that we all could go out to dinner next week? And instead of you saying, yeah, I'll go, you getting all emotional. Well, why would you invite another girl over here? And is there something going on? Women jump all the way to the left, opposed to understanding he really felt vulnerable enough to invite a girl here in my space so I can meet her. Maybe he's really trying to show me something or tell me something. Everybody not trying to have sister wives. You know what I'm saying? Some people just trying to be vulnerable with you and take y'all friendship and relationship to the next level. So when you see a man being vulnerable like that, you should be able to anticipate and respect the vulnerability of what he's showing you. It's saying a lot about y'all relationship. What do you think, Romy, and then Lem, before Bishop come on? So I'm getting it all in before Bishop come. Come on. Come
Hey,
on.
no, that's hey, what y'all both said is good, man. The bottom line is, at the end of the day, if a man is being vulnerable enough to open up, not only is he expressing and showing his love, but he's basically opening up his heart. Men are expected to be great listeners whenever their woman pour out their heart to them. So when a man is being that vulnerable, you have to uh, deny yourself. Use a scripture right there. Deny yourself and basically listen to what he's saying. Because a lot of times a woman can take what a man said to them and crush him in a matter of moments, whether it's that same day, the next day, the next week. And like Los just said, he'll never open up to you again. And you will lose your man in that moment, no matter how great he was, No matter how good he was up until that point, once you shut him down, he's gonna be shut down to you emotionally, uh, and you won't be able to get that back. That's where I tell people all the time in the millennial years, especially with the black men being out here working so hard and doing entrepreneurship, mental stimulation is pivotal in relationships for men. If y'all crush him with the vulnerability, it won't be the same, and you will be able to feel the difference after a while. So that's
And
my take on it.
since we on free game, I'm gonna just give y'all some free game as well, right? So let's just say this, right? If you giving this man all of this accolades as far as making him feel special, great relationship, and he's vulnerable with you, that's saying a lot about your relationship, number one, and it's saying that he trusts you, right? So you need to be able to take that a little bit serious in order to go to the next level, right? That's what I think. Me personally, y'all won't disagree, or maybe y'all won't. I know y'all won't disagree, but women really, really, at the end of the day, have the power. They just don't know how to use it. So if I'm giving them this 45 caliber and you don't know how to cock it back and shoot it, what's the point? You could walk around with this gun saying pow, 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 but if you really knew the power that you had, it would be substantial. James Brown said it best. This is a man's world, but it's nothing. It would be nothing without a woman or a girl. And that's what brother James Brown, the honorable James Brown said. That's what he said. Ain't that what he said? That's what he said.
Let me get some of this. Let me get some of this. So here's the deal. The power that you're talking about, Los, is that it's that trust fund in between their legs. That's what you're talking about, that trust fund. So that trust fund in between their legs is where they get you by the shoulders. But I want to go back to men being vulnerable. Fellas, you have to be careful being vulnerable with, I'm going to say it, with women who are always, and they never stop. They're always they're always over analyzing everything. I don't care what they tell you. So if you tell them you have vulnerable financial situations, I don't care how comfortable they are with you, that they remember that shit because they always want to be protected and they always want stability. Even while you're being vulnerable, they need stability. So they will tell you, baby, please tell me. Don't hide shit from me. Tell me everything. But then when you tell them that one thing that kind of rocks their boat as far as stability is concerned, that's gonna be held in the back of their head. They may not share that with you, but they're gonna share it with their girlfriends. They're gonna share it with they whoever their partners are, their co-workers, and be like, he's cool, but he shared something with me, and I ain't felt kind of cool about it. I'm a little uneasy about that. So you can share to a point. I'm gonna say one other thing, last thing. Is another reason why women are very comfortable with Pookie and Ray Ray, because they ain't sharing that shit. All they doing is telling you about their highs, not too much about their lows. So every time they show up, they showing up with money, they showing up in a new car, and they shopping. They keeping that woman's mind stimulated. So we ain't talking about the real stuff that's really happening behind the scenes that's really going on. It's always highs, highs, highs. And women like to stay on an emotional high. They don't want to come down to the bottom and struggle with you if they don't have to. I want to say that.
What
They will, some have, but that's not where they want to be. They don't want to
what
be there.
Let
Go
me
ahead.
say this. Thank you so much, sir. While you looking over your shoulder for Pookie and Ray right now. So what I will, so what I will say though, this is what I will say. The older women get, from what I understand, and I see my cousin in the chat. What up, cuz? So look, the older women get, I know that obviously they want stability, but they also want an authentic man, right? So if my man being authentic, like this is what it is, baby girl. And so to me, it's probably not the best idea to try to be stable in all your ways and all the stuff you do because that's not where faith is, right? Me personally, I understand what faith is. That's whether you got money or not. That's the good, the bad, the ugly. You could be pretty this day and then have cancer, face cancer, brain cancer, and then ugly tomorrow. So it ain't really. And you talking about that insurance between their legs. Honestly speaking, most people in relationships and couples, they don't get it like that anyway. So it got to sustain longer than that insurance policy you talking about between the legs. Because that come and go. That's what I'm saying. Got to be deeper than that. because relationship that we talking about is a little bit deeper than sex. It penetrates way deeper than that. It's more so of friendship, relationship. Can I trust you? Can we talk? Can I make you extremely excited without sex? You know, can I make you happy to see me without that? I know you laughing, Lim, but see, that's when the relationships get a little bit deeper. And I'm just trying to tell you, for a brother that got a little experience, just a little bit of experience in this game, right? And then I'll let my cousin. She could tell you, she ain't on right now, but my cousin could tell you the game too. She been married for a long time and divorced. But what I'm saying to you is, it goes deeper than that. And if you don't believe me, go take out your pen and pad and go do a poll, and you ask all married couples how many times they get some. That's how many times they get some a week, and you will be shocked to hear the results. Because I'm just trying to tell you that ain't what it's
I
all
would
about.
be. I would be
Excuse me.
shocked.
Excuse me. I didn't hear you, buddy.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Oh,
I
okay.
know they
Okay,
don't get.
so don't talk to me about no insurance policy in between the legs.
No,
This
no,
ain't
no.
the
I didn't.
Ivy
No,
brothers in
Lowe's.
between the
I
sheets.
wasn't Lowe's. I wasn't. It's not insurance policy. Policy. I said she's got an entitlement of an inheritance in between her legs. That inheritance, what gives women influence over men.
I know. So
Because at that,
let me ask you
go ahead.
this: what happens when Donald Trump got his inheritance, and not to give a go political, because that's not where I'm going with this. But what happens when his dad gave him his inheritance, and he was able to make all this money, and then it's gone? What happens when the inheritance is gone? What happens when the coochie dried up? That's what I'm trying to. Excuse me, Pastor. But I'm just saying, what happens when it's gone? Then after
You know what that's
the
called?
love
I'm
is
gonna tell you
gone.
what. You know what that's called? It's
Yeah.
called hitting the wall. Hitting the wall. You hit the wall, brother. That's called hitting the wall. It's called hitting the wall. So at a,
Hey,
so
hey, Ron, hold on, wait. Ron, talk some sense into this dude before Bishop come on. What you say, Romy? Because see, this boy talking about some hitting the wall because you can't feel no walls. What you say, Romy?
I did. That's not. That's what I
Hey,
Come on,
hey,
Romy.
hey, so what happens when it
It
dries
drives
up?
up. Hey, when the water drives up, don't go chasing waterfalls.
Hey, all
see
I can
that they
tell
got
you
vagina
is
rejuvenation now.
Oh,
yes.
the old girl talking about it. Go ahead, Ron. Go ahead. Man.
I was gonna say they got a lot of things out here now for both the men and the women. You know, whether you want to go natural or whether you want to use one of
Oh,
those other substances, you can
BBL
get back
Jersey.
in the game. Hey, you can get back in the game, man. If you got people who are double our age back in the game,
oh
what's the
Lord.
excuse for the young ladies that's 35,
Yeah.
45, 55, 25? So my take is, you know, it's amazing because once everybody start having kids and they working, it's easy to blame everything. Well, I'm just tired. Well, I'm just tired. Well, guess what? You on the clock. I'm like ESPN. You on the clock right now. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is y'all gotta have real conversations. I always tell everybody, scheduling is not sexy, but you may have to do it. And it's just a reality for some people, man. You may not want to do it, but if you really want some, you better schedule. Because otherwise, you're not getting none.
Is Mike on? Mike one, Mike check 1 2 1 2 1 2. So let me change this subject, man, because I think this is pretty ignorant, right? But let me just change the subject real quick. Okay, so Lim, and I appreciate that, Rome. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I'm just saying you're right. Scheduling is not sexy, and who want to do that? Jeez, baby, at 3 o'clock we gonna do something, huh? Who want to put it in the schedule? But anyways, let me say, I see you, Lim. But let me say this. Let me go back to something Lim said, very powerful. So I don't see nobody on, but we segued into 6 to go to our next topic, right? So Lim said something very pivotal earlier. He said if the man don't get what he's looking for, what he want, and it's easy to go on to the next chick, like Bishop would say, is what he's. There go my man Bishop. So he say basically, if a man don't get what he want, it's easy for a man to just step out to go into this flight. Hey, I just found somebody else to do it. But then that leads me to the conversation of domestic violence. This man Bishop, see, he acting his age, can't even find the value. But so this leads me to the conversation of domestic violence. Right now, this is a very serious topic that I want to get into, and I want to let you know I will purple to stand in solidarity for people that have lost their life or people that was fell victim to domestic violence, emotional violence, financial violence, verbal violence, all type of violence. We do not condone that on the Shield Show, right? Let me just throw out the preference. However, the truth of the matter is, let's be like Rome say, let's be real. The statistics say 1 in 4 of every female has suffered from some form of domestic violence. So I don't think this is as taboo as you would think. It seems like a lot of people is going through this whole or have been through this whole situation of domestic violence. Me personally, sadly to say, I have family members. A couple of my sisters have dealt with severe domestic violence. And unfortunately, I was a little low at that time. I wasn't really as, developed 9, 10 years old at 13 when I was kind of experiencing a lot of this and tried my hardest to protect my sisters the best that I could. However, I really couldn't. But at that same point, I understood that that came from a lot of drinking or drugs or just not being able to respect women. So as we go into this domestic violence serious note, I want to be able to talk about because I know Bishop wanted to go back to the whole trainable part because that's where he good, but I want to get a little serious right quick to talk about domestic violence. I had one of my sisters I was supposed to be on. I don't know if she's still gonna join or not, but at the end of the day, I really want to talk about like how like the psyche, what goes through your head with the whole different emotions of the rage and then baby please I'm sorry I won't never do it again and then go back into the whole trends and the cycle and then when is enough police are called, we experiencing all of this in front of the kids because one thing that Dr. Umar said, excuse me, the honorable Dr. Umar Johnson said based off the Cassidy incident, he struck a chord with me because what he said was everybody trying to get mad at Puffy, right? And you see all these people canceling Puffy, but where were you when this was happening to Big Mama? Like, why you didn't call the police then? Like, why you didn't say nothing to the police when you saw your son downstairs beating his girlfriend? Why didn't you say anything when your brother was having a dispute with his wife? So we kind of overlook domestic violence when it's in home, but we want to point the finger when it's outside the home. And I don't think that's fair, me personally, right? So I think it's wrong on all facets. I think you never should hit a woman, period. Like, I don't think it's no excuse. I believe you should get her up off you because there's a lot of aggressive women out here too. They want to hit you and they want to spit on it, stuff like that. So you got to go ahead, get up out of there, shake her, get her up off you. But I do not condone hitting a woman. Like a lot of these people we seen, they had closed fists, they hit women, and they did this repeatedly. So I want to hear y'all thoughts, and I also want to see what y'all think or somebody's personal experience if they willing to share. What you got for us, Romy? Oh, they're gonna Liz, what it is. There go my sister right there.
Boy, cut it out.
Okay, so look, this my sister, y'all, and what I'm saying to you is the fact that she able to get on to try to share some of this stuff, I think is very, very pivotal, right? So, Bishop, I'm gonna come back to you real quick while I got my sister for a little minute, and I want her to be able to touch on domestic violence and the importance of it, if you will. Liz, introduce yourself, please, and then explain just a little bit on domestic violence of your personal story.
Boy, it ain't enough time in the day. I'll be 60 next month. And my name is, let me start out by saying my name is Liz. I'm the older sister to Carlos, okay? So I left home at 16. And like I said, I'll be 60 next month. So uh, that was my first age of experiencing domestic violence. Like it just like wasn't, it was like, I wouldn't say bondage, but I was controlled and forced to have sex when I didn't want to, slapped, and stuff like that. That's what it started off. And at that point, a lot of people be like, okay, so why you didn't leave? Because I left home, and my point was to prove to my parents I wasn't coming back home. So I couldn't let nobody know that that was going on. And then in the midst of that relationship, I got pregnant at 16. And then, so, okay, we're going to try to make this work. We move in together, and where he, repeatedly did whatever he wanted to me sexually, and control me in fear as far as hitting on me and stuff, because I wasn't used to that kind of stuff. I wasn't no hood 16-year-old. I was I was sheltered. I was in the church. Um, and I went from the church to the streets. And so I didn't know nothing. I was real naive, and I was very fearful of him. So, yeah, so like I said, the repeated rape, and I got pregnant again. So he was like, I was going to make you have so many babies. Ain't nobody going to want you. That was his mindset. So that was my first experience. But I finally got out of that. I basically jumped in from the pot into the frying pan. My next relationship.
So how did you
So,
get out of the first situation?
okay, the first situation. Okay, I had just had Shawnee or whatever, and I don't know. He had some crazy. I don't know what kind of drugs he was on, but anyway, he tried to take me from Auntie Denny house. Now back then, um, they didn't have the kind of stuff they had like after you had a baby. They used to put binders. What a binder is basically you lay on your back and they wrap this towel around you real tight, to kind of dry up the milk and stuff like that. So it's dead winter time, and he dragged me out of the house. So once they got me back home, uh, that's when Flynn Cherry was going with Curtis, and he was friends with Flynn. So when he found out what was going on, he offered to take me to my sister's house, leaving in Chicago Heights. And then from there, I took the ride out there. But on the way there, he was like, man, if you could love me just half as much as you love him, what he would do for me, you got to still understand here. Now I'm 17. No, maybe 19 at the time. Yeah, 19 with two babies. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this is a way out. I can take care of my children. I don't have to be dependent on anybody. And, he was a big drug dealer at the time. So I took the bait. And, and for the most part, other than, the environment I was in, I wasn't thinking like that. I had a nice little crib after we left my sister's house. And, but here we go with the control with fear. I was terrified of him. I ain't gonna even lie. I was terrified. He was like almost 30 and I was 19. So not only did he have mind control over me, I remember him beating me so bad I didn't even know where I was bleeding from. So anyway, I was terrified, so terrified of him that um, he even abused one of my children. Whooped her to blood came out, and she was like 2, and I was trying to shelter her with my body, and he just started beating me with the belt and stuff. And yeah, I was very terrified. So if you want to know how I got out that relationship, it's because I asked God to either take his life or send him to jail. That's just how scared I was. I really wasn't. I don't know if he would have tried to come after me or not, but that's just how scared I was. So anyway, and guess what? He ended up going to jail and dying in jail, and sometimes I ain't laughing at nothing, but I'm like, I hope I ain't had nothing to do with that. But that was his fate. Um, and so I think,
So let me ask you this, right? Because I mean, this obviously this emotional for me being baby bro, hearing all of this specifically, although I heard it before, right? So tell us the psyche of a woman that's going through domestic violence repeatedly, and in your head you really want to leave, but you forgive them, and you got to go through this whole metamorphosis of baby, baby, I won't do it again. Tell us how that psyche plays in your head.
You know what? For me, it wasn't really that. I wasn't in love with them like that. I felt trapped with the two children. No education, um, no babysitters. I mean, it's like I went at home with my parents, and I definitely couldn't go back home with two babies. I never even asked. I just knew for sure I couldn't go home with no two babies. You didn't leave here with no kids, so in my mind, you can't come back with no kids. So that was my train of thought. Um,
And wait. Just for the sake of time, can you rewind us? Because for our listeners, I'm sure they want to know, why did you leave home, your safe environment? Can you touch on that real quick, please?
yeah, sure. So um, I was at the age where I wanted a little freedom. Like I said, my parents were super strict on me. I was the oldest in the house, so they any mistakes that parents make, uh, you know, we get it. We get it. The older person, the older sibling. And cause by the time they got to you, Carlos, you did whatever you wanted to do
We ain't
for the
talking
most.
about me. Stay
I know we,
focused.
but but I just had to say that out loud. But however, me, I was a girl, and I think that we had old fashioned parents with old fashioned morals. My mother was terrified of me getting pregnant. I mean, she said that all the time, and I just remember having little innocent boyfriends in the church, my twin brother's friends, would give gifts on Christmas. We weren't dating, we weren't really even talking on the phone. We would see each other at church, and she would always make me give the gifts back, so the resentment started to grow. The resentment with my mother started to grow on me. And it's like, I'm a good girl. I'm not doing anything. I just want to be a teenager. That was my thought. And, she just wasn't letting it happen. So I remember after my, let me see, it had to be, okay, so you say before I left. So I had just turned 16. So we were out of town. And I think at that point I had started smoking cigarettes or something because I had left the church. I was tired, I couldn't go nowhere, I couldn't do nothing. I just wanted to have some fun, not necessarily do anything. I just wanted to do a lot of stuff that my friends was doing. And the way we grew up in the church, that wasn't happening. They didn't even want you to play competitive sports and stuff. Um, so anyway, um, and so
So so
yeah,
so let,
she
let me
called
ask,
herself and that was it. So yeah, she called
so let
herself
me
whooped, and
right. Let me
that's what
ask
happened.
you this. Let's fast forward. So during the domestic violence escapade, it seemed like this happened with numerous of guys you were dealing with, right? So can you tell us a time that you felt enough tenacity or courage to call the authorities, or did the police ever get involved? Could you tell us something like that?
I never called the police. Like I said, I left. Um, how you doing? I left Michael and went straight to my sister's house, but was talking to Flynn, who was this big drug dealer in the hood, and he was showing off the money, and making sure me and the kids had everything we needed. Like it was, I thought I was on to something then. The best of clothes, the apartment, car, and then one day, you know what I'm saying. But the beatings that he gave me, I can't even explain. I really cannot explain them. It's some stuff that I really could talk about, but this
We don't want to hear it.
so I
Well, I don't
said
want to hear it. I'm sorry.
is conservative, and if I really dived into men or even women who have do go through domestic violence, it's always Um, they are controlled by something. If it's not fear, drugs, money, it's controlled by something. Something is compelling you to stay, and you would believe anything to say, okay, it's not going to happen again. But I always tell my daughters, look, if you ever get in a relationship, if he hits you one time, get the fuck out of there, because it is going to happen again. It might not happen right away, may not even here, but it's going to happen again. And that's based off my experience with multiple different men. And
So
I've had one like that, and that stood. My first husband. I kept, forgiving him, and he be crying and all that, put guns to his head, I'm gonna kill myself type of stuff. And I remember I called one of my mentors. She was like, like one of them people in the drug rehab counselor type people. He walked dead in there like, Liz, come on, because if that nigga was gonna kill himself, he would have been dead by now. And so that taught me a lot too. That, and it may not work for everybody. Maybe somebody else might have probably blew their head off. But in my case, we talking about my experience. Yeah, I was, I just, and each relationship, each experience of domestic violence I had just accumulated. It seemed like they got worse and worse, with the abuse, and I just got more fearful, and just like I believe that they gonna do what they say they gonna do. You know what I'm saying? And
well, just so we don't leave this on a sour note to the people that's listening, right? I'm so very proud of my sister, right? Let me just fast forward the story really, really quick, and then she can jump in if she need to. But let me fast forward the story. She got all the way out. I love to call her the prodigal daughter, because she got all the way out in them streets completely. I'm talking about drugs and everything so far gone. It was absolutely ridiculous that we thought we was getting calls every week, thought my sister was gonna die. Right. The whole nine. She's coming out with a book. I'll tell y'all when it come out, but she was all the way out there. And to say the least, she had kids, the family had to raise the kids, the whole nine. But if you could take a look at my sister right now, you will see that she is clean, she's sober, hasn't done drugs, she got married, she raised her youngest daughter. Her youngest daughter is in Grambling, a senior right now at Grambling State University. My sister is now an actual nurse. I mean, I'm just so proud of her. So it's so great she can tell this story. So for the sake of time, I wanted to just fast forward the story so you don't hear the horrible part without hearing the great part. So I'm so proud of everything she has done, all her great accomplishments. My brother-in-law was on drugs as well. He's clean, he's doing great, and he's a phenomenal man as well. He doesn't hit her, doesn't raise his hand, his voice, and he take care of the matter of fact, the house you see that's in back of her, that's a house she owns in Chicago. I'm just so proud, and I can't speak enough of the great accomplishments that she has done. So I want to hear from the audience.
yeah,
Lim, right?
yeah.
Lim, Rome, anything y'all got to say about? Oh, they're
Wait,
gonna
how
miss
you
it.
let me go? Okay.
Go ahead, Liz. You can.
Hey, mom. Hey, Bishop.
Hey,
Come on, Bishop. Kevin
am I
Samuel.
moving? It look like I'm paused.
I
Can you hear me?
you
Oh, we can hear you and see you. We like your gray beard, man. Come on,
Um,
get it moving.
oh, okay. Now I feel sorry for all the domestic violence victims out there. I myself, it probably could be a probably not to that extent at all. Being a man, a lot of times us men, we don't come forth and say we're a victim of domestic violence, just because we are men, and that kind of stems on what you guys were talking about before, how we we can't come forth like we want to and or probably need to on
right.
certain items. But probably like over 30 years ago, I was dating a girl. We were just laying up in bed, and all of a sudden it escalated. Next thing I know, I'm rushing to the emergency room. I have to get 26 stitches
Oh
down my
goodness.
arm because she pulled out all the knives and started trying to stab me. on my arm, and I had 26 stitches. So it's you can't see it now because I'm older, and it kind of blends into my skin. But back then, when I was in my early 20s, you could see it because it was pretty much a white meat scar coming down my arm, and I didn't realize how many other guys were victims too, because they would see my arm. I'd be in the club, I'd be out and about, and you could tell I had a long scar on my arm back then at the time. And all I would get, I'd be walking down the street, and the guy would be like, they would just say, "Crazy female, huh?" I'm like, "What? Your arm, crazy female?" I'm like, "Yeah, how you know?" He's like, then they started showing me their scab wounds. Like I was shot here, I was hit by a car here, I was stabbed here. I'm like, I didn't realize, how much that stuff was going on. But as men, we don't come forth and tell it, and that kind of stems on what you guys were talking about earlier.
Man, thank you so much for sharing that story too, Bishop, man, because a lot of people don't share stuff like that. And a lot of women provoke men to that level, right? And all I'm saying to you is I just still don't see an excuse to be able to hit no woman. So even if you pushed up off you, shook her, get up off, defend yourself as far as getting up off you, but I just can't see the Chris Brown and the Diddy stuff on tape. I can't see it. But that's just me, I guess. What you got to say, Romy? We'll say Lynn for last. What you say, Rom?
Wow. Wow. Hey, first of all, let me comment on Liz's testimony. Um, that's powerful, and like Lo said, we commend you and give you your kudos, your flowers for coming out of that victorious, because only God can pull you out of that type of storm. So I want to say that as far as what Bishop was talking about. I think I was in high school at the time, and my boy Jeff will remember this. It came on Lifetime, and I remember the movie was called Men Don't Tell, and it was talking about men who was in abusive relationships, and the dude's wife was beating him up, and he was going to work, and he like, oh, I went to the bar. That's how I got the black eye. So they looking like, how many times you gonna go to the bar and get whooped up? Like you need to go take some.
Right.
But he couldn't tell anybody, and he finally went to the police station, and the officers was laughing at him. And I was just thinking, like, man, how many people really go through that as men, and they don't take us seriously? Like, hey, this woman did XYZ, and they laughing at you, because domestic violence is serious, no matter whether it's the man or the woman. The women shouldn't be putting their hands, breaking out knives, breaking out their gun, all because of anger. It's like, okay, take an anger management class. Do what you have to do. I myself, I was in a situation one time where the young lady I was dating in college, she trapped me into the kitchen. It was only one way in and one way out. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. So all I did was push her to the side so I can leave. A week later, she called her brother, told the brother I hit her. She told the brother I hit her. I didn't even know the conversation went down. All I know is my man came up and said, "Hey man, you touch my sister again, now I kill you." And I'm like, "Hey man, that I don't take threats lightly." I said, "Is that a threat or a promise?" He said, "A threat." I said, "Okay, that's good for you, because if you promised me that, trust me, you wouldn't be leaving here right now." Because my thing is, how you gonna put my life at risk and tell the man I hit you, and I didn't even hit her. I just pushed her to the side so I can leave. That was the whole point. We didn't have to call the police. I didn't have any scars. She didn't hit me. I was leaving before it escalated to that explosion. I didn't want that to happen. And so, domestic violence is real, and not everybody is able to leave in the middle of that argument, because you might be in the vehicle like Bishop just said, and next thing you know, he said he was bleeding, and that's sad that he had to go through that, and Liz had to go through that, but it happens. It's sad.
Let me say this before I let Lem in, right? Because I don't see his face. I hope he at home, right? So let me just say this last part though. My other sister, right, that experienced domestic violence, right? I'll never forget being over her house in the area, and it was a sweet lady, man, that stayed like six houses down, and we used to always go over there, and borrow sugar, and vice versa, right? Her name was Miss Mary. right? I'm gonna say it, and I normally don't even say names, right? But I'm gonna disclose this because she has so much of an impact on me when I was little. We used to always go over there. The lady was a nurse in the hospital, but she was really, really nice, and she had this abusive husband. And he had the curl, he had the curl, the gold tooth, and so, but the lady was sweet as pie. She reminded you of your nicest Liz, your car door is beeping. I hear it. So press mute or something. So or somebody car door, Lim.
Is that my
Oh, that
car?
was Lim. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's
So
not.
Miss Mary was so nice, Rome. And so I remember going over there one day, and Miss Mary had a black eye one week. And I'm like, man, Miss Mary, what happened? She was like, oh, baby, I was bringing up the groceries, and you wouldn't believe it. I hit the table, and I was like, well, that don't make too much sense, Miss Mary, but I just kind of left it alone, right? And then I went over there another week, over there just checking on Miss Mary, because Miss Mary was just so nice to everybody in the block. Everybody knew her. She had the robe on. She was the real big mama. She was the real big mama with the long house coat on. And my man used to just get drunk and just really go in there and wild out on Miss Mary. Right. But I didn't understand a lot of this until, they started explaining to us as we got older that Miss Mary used to get whooped on and used to come up with these good excuses going to work and all of that. In church, she ain't heard a fly. But what I'm saying to you is, what kind of monster does it take to take advantage of a sweet old lady like that that's doing nothing but cooking your laundry and cooking your food, doing your laundry and doing everything she's supposed to do, all of the things like I was telling Ashley, like what does it take for you to dog somebody like that? What you say, Liz, before Lim? Come on. Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, say what I could say about that. Now, in her case, she was in love with her husband, whoever he was, and when she married him, he wasn't no alcoholic. Her
Right,
husband turned something else, a
right.
monster through the alcohol, and in her mind, this is not him. He don't mean to do this to me.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? When he sobers up, baby, I'm so, I did, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna stop drinking. She lived off of promises, and she lived off of when she first fell in love with him, and it was gonna always get better. Um, I understood her. I can understand. I'm not saying it's right. Miss Mary should have got on away from that unless he, gave him an ultimatum. Look, you got to go get some help, or I'm gonna leave you. Because I got some older friends. My daddy and them age in the program with us who went through a similar thing like that. Now he wasn't beating on her, but he was out there for years, and she
Well,
was in
Liz,
the
let,
church.
let me let me ask you this, just for the sake of the conversation. What would you say? And this is what I love. I can ask you this from both perspectives. What would you say as they preaching, turn the other cheek, and Miss Mary is no reason to leave your husband if he ain't cheating? How long do you think a woman should endure this type of abuse if, in fact, he turned into something that he wasn't when she married him?
She should have left him the first time he hit her, and gave him an opportunity. I'm just saying, if they in a marriage and it wasn't like that when they first got married, and maybe life showed up and they, money. I don't know what the issue, what made him drink, or maybe he was already an alcoholic and was trying to be sober when she met him. Didn't disclose that he ended up. I don't know what the reason was, but I would advise anybody, especially men, if a woman hits you, leave her ass, because eventually she's gonna force you to do something, because you can only, I mean, certain men can only say, like, look, I ain't no punk, but you're not gonna keep hitting on me. It's gonna get to that point. I just wouldn't deal with it per
I
black,
love.
because you know what, and my husband, like, we equally yoked. We met in the program. He had like 2.5 years clean. I had just hit a year at the time, and we talked about everything. And I literally said to him, I can probably deal with just about anything, but you cannot hit me. And the moment you ever make me feel afraid of you, I'm gone. And like, look, we didn't had all kind of stuff that could have broken up a marriage, and I was able to withstand and go through them storms. But he ain't never hit me. He ain't never made me think he was gonna hit me. He ain't never called me out my name. And so look, I'm still here.
We
Because
love
I
it.
wouldn't be able to do that. Because I think I'm still traumatized by that. I hate when he get upset. Like kind of shut down. I'm not gonna provoke, because we all have our demons to fight. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna provoke anything. I'm not gonna call you out your name, go toe to toe with you with my mouth, because the mouth is like a sword. Y'all know that I could go for the juggler, and I know my mouth. So I just I study him. I know how to deal with him when he upset. And guess what? I'm okay with not talking to your ass for two days. I don't got to worry about your ass asking me to cook or do nothing else. So I utilize that time, to take care. That's
Hey,
fine. I'm
hey,
so
hey, she pulled your number, bitch, and
sure.
she said I studied him though. Come on, Lim. Come on in here. The water is cold, man. Come on. I'm gonna let Lim say something right quick because we running out of
Come on,
time. It's
Lim.
6:30. Come on, Lim.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, man.
Hey,
Come on
Lim.
in. We can't see you. We can hear
All
you
right.
though.
Oh wow. So anyway, I wanted to touch on two things. What from the man's side when he's in an abusive relationship. So what's happening is even today the laws are a little antiquated that no police officer or court is going to believe that a woman can actually do harm or damage to a man physically based upon
Right.
size in most cases. So what ends up happening, what you end up seeing is women know this as well. So those little petite women who got a lot of fire and all that and want to talk crazy and sideways and slick, they know they are very protected by the legal
Mm,
system. And here's a good case in point. So the
yeah.
running back Ezekiel Elliott was dating this chick who told him to his face, "It doesn't matter if I hit you or not. I can right now go to a police officer and tell him that you hit me, and they're going to believe me before they believe you. I'm a white woman and you're a black man. Now deal with it."
Mm.
And that's the kind of type of attitude and mentality. I'm not saying all women have, but in the back of their mind, when they get upset enough, if they could take it to that point, they know that they are going to be protected, right or wrong. And I'll give you a better example. Two women, lesbian relationships. Y'all want to go there? We're gonna go there
Oh.
quickly. They don't talk about this ugly, dirty little secret that the lesbian relationships have the most domestic violence in them of all heterosexual, of man on man. Those little two women are having a lot of issues, but they're going unreported because by the time the police officer comes to the home, both of them start crying and I didn't mean to, and you didn't, and it was her fault, and they don't know who did what. And then you get in front of a court, they start acting and going off, and so here's what ends up happening: those relationships with two women involved and they're having domestic issues, they're going underreported, so the numbers are not showing the true numbers. But the point I'm trying to be is we are behind in women and men. Now, as far as men hitting women, so we're going to talk about that quickly. A lot of times, a man that is hitting a woman, he also knows that her options, as far as finances may be concerned, as far as in Miss Liz's case, going back home may be concerned, they know you are stuck, and they use that. That is its own power, knowing you
Yeah.
don't have options. You can't just get up and leave financially. You can't just get up and leave. You got kids to take with you. My grandmother had 13 kids. 13 kids in Mississippi, fifth grade education. If my grandfather was the devil, where in the hell was she gonna go with 13 kids?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So men in those type of situations, they understand where you are in life. I have one question for Miss Liz.
Sure.
When you were 16 and you were at home and you were getting ready to leave home, or you were thinking, I can't take this, I don't like the way this is too strict. I just want to go out there and discover what's happening. What am I missing? Now, at that particular time, you probably thought, I'm just putting some words out there, that you knew enough that you could navigate your life absent of your parents, and you are going to be able to go out there and figure it out. Now, why am I going to? I'm saying this because I believe that is what kept you from going back home. I can't
Yeah,
let them know that I went
yeah,
out here and I done
exactly.
effed up my life,
Yep.
and now I got to go back with my tail between my legs, the prodigal son. That, and you know who was talking to you the whole
Well,
time?
not,
The
not
devil.
only that, don't forget, by that time, I had two babies.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
I
You
wasn't
had two children.
back
That's right.
home with two
Going home by
babies.
yourself. I got what you said.
Now, if
Right.
I was
That's
by
right.
my,
So even
I thought about going back home or asking, can I come home? But like I
right,
said, by the time like I had messed up, with this relationship I had been in from the age of 16, until uh 18, almost 19. Um, I was pregnant again, but yeah, so yeah, and it went from there. And then, you lose self esteem at some point after the second
that's
relationship. I went for a free fall. I didn't even get in no relationship. I was just doing whatever I wanted to do.
right,
And then the drugs came into play. And so
right,
that was it. I wasn't controlled by no more men. I was controlled by a substance who allowed men to take advantage of me,
right.
throughout the entire
There's,
uh,
at that
addiction.
point, now the streets got you. At that
Now
point,
the
it's the
streets.
streets. It ain't about a man. It's the streets got you.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
So hey, this is we could do this all day because I want to hear. I know her
No,
testimony is really deep, but
no, so
I will leave it. I'll leave it there. Yeah.
no, I appreciate it, Lim. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Liz, for
oh,
sharing.
good
We
points he
appreciate
brought
it.
up.
So, what you say?
No, I said those some good points he brought up, especially with the community and stuff, that and how women think. That's why I don't care if you boy, girl, boy, whatever. Once you get a flag that this person has some hostility and then may take you out of character, um in public, behind what, I would go. I really would. I wouldn't. I would just go. I wouldn't suggest staying with nobody. Once they hit you, get out of there. Especially the men, because y'all gonna end up in jail whether you did something or not. Because women can be bigger dogs than a man can ever be.
I
They
love it.
ridiculous.
I love it. Is there any closing remarks that you have for us, Bishop or Rome, before I close us out? No. What about you, Rome? No. So,
Hold on, hold on.
so
I just sent Suge a number, but we need to put the
no,
domestic
I got
violence.
it. I got
Yeah,
it. I
yeah,
got it.
yeah.
I
Okay,
got
you
it.
can go ahead and
I
close out
got
with
it.
that. You
So
close out with that.
what I was gonna do is I'm thanking Liz for having an opportunity to share her story. I know that what we try to do on this show is have vulnerable, real conversations. We're tired of the sophomore conversations where we could just get on and just say anything. We want substance and we want to be able to try to help somebody. So even if it comes down to the untrainable woman that we talked about, even if it comes down to something as serious as domestic violence, we want y'all to be able to understand that we're here to help. And so the phone number to the helpline for domestic violence, the National Domestic Violence Hotline, is 800-799-782-33. Again, that number is 800-799-7233. We do not condone domestic violence. We as a matter of fact, we are a safe haven. So you can always give us a call to be able to help you through. We're not therapists, right? But it's our job to put this on the forefront. So if you need to have help, or if you need to get out of a situation like my sister did, or like Bishop did, or many others, you can always call us and you can always, talk about it. The phone number is on the screen right there, visible. We really appreciate y'all for joining us and taking time to listen. Once again, thank you so much to my sister Liz for sharing. It's very impactful if you think about the significance of everything she went through, and she only tried to share that in 15 minutes. So could you imagine her book? So please be updated, and I'll tell you when that comes out. She'll go into way more details. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you, cuz. I appreciate my cousin Rashida as well for supporting. Talk to y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Appreciate y'all. Later.
Bye-bye.
Join us every Wednesday night for Shields Ministry at 5:30 Pacific. We look forward to hearing from you. Come on in where you can hear about good, authentic conversations, relationships,